Interaction between lion and his best friend stuns handlers. There's a reason why lions are called the kings of the jungle. Not only are the big cats the masters of their domain, but they have a pretty strict hierarchy. You don't mess with the leaders of the pride. Not every interaction, however, goes according to plan. Just ask Masrya and Nero, the two lions at the heart of our story. When you think of a lion, you probably imagine a fearsome predator lording over the African bush. Unfortunately for one lioness named Masrya, life wasn't like that we see in nature documentaries. She found herself in a bleak situation. As a cub, Masrya lived a pretty ideal life in the wild, playing with her peers and learning the ways of the pride. On one fateful day, however, she encountered the one predator that even lions fear. While the exact details aren't known, Masrya must have crossed paths with some humans. Before she knew what happened, she was whisked away to Cairo, Egypt, and forced to pose for pictures with tourists. It was an embarrassing fate for a prideful animal. While becoming a photo prop is far below a regal lioness, it wasn't the only indignity that Masrya suffered. She was also declawed. In addition to being painful, the procedure meant she'd no longer be able to hunt. She would never be herself again. Eventually, Masrya grew up, and tourists were no longer excited to take pictures with her. While taking tourist pictures with an adult lioness sounds cool, it's probably not the safest idea. With that reality in mind, she needed to find a new home. As you might imagine, she didn't get to retire back to the plains. Unfortunately, things didn't get better for Masrya. She found herself in the hands of a private zoo. The majestic lioness found herself trapped in a tiny cage, once again serving as a prop for adventurous tourists. But then something good happened for once. Thankfully for Masrya, one tourist didn't just look at her in the cage. She reported the lioness's deteriorating condition to a conservation group. Eventually, they managed to free the big cat and send her to Stichting Loo, a rescue facility in the Netherlands. There, life was still tricky. Once she made the move north, though, Masrya wasn't out of the woods yet. She was pretty weak and uncertain about living life outside her tiny cage. She wasn't the only lion to arrive in the sanctuary, though. In France, a young lion cub by the name of Nemo was undergoing a similar struggle. He and his parents belonged to a circus, which, as you might imagine, wasn't the ideal place for an apex predator. He had a lot in common with Masrya. Like Masrya, Nero's small size and cute appearance made him perfect for pictures. He'd spend his day in a small cage, only emerging when a guest wanted to pose for a photo. Then everything changed. Once again, a concerned visitor tipped off the authorities, and in the blink of an eye, they rescued the young lion. Before the 4-month-old cub knew what was happening, he was headed to the Netherlands. Once both lions reached the sanctuary, they ended up in enclosures next to each other. As they adjusted to their new surroundings, the two cats would interact through the fence. That gave the staff an idea. Since the two lions seemed to be getting along and Nero was still only a cub, they decided to let him and Masrya meet face to face. Cautiously, they prepared for the big cat's introduction. Well, things could have gone terribly wrong. Lions don't always take kindly to outsiders. Masrya and Nero hit it off. Before long, the two cats were playing like a pair of old friends. Masrya became like a mother to Nero, showing the young lion the ropes. In return, he'd stick by her side morning, noon, and night. That relationship, however, will be put to the test by a massive change. After some time at Stichting Loo in the Netherlands, it was time for Masrya to return to her native Africa. She wasn't going to be traveling alone, though. Nero joined her for the intercontinental trip. Once the pair reached Stichting Loo's South African sanctuary, the lions continued to hit it off. After a life in captivity, they now had all the space they could ever want. Tragedy, however, was still in the cards. While her condition had improved since her rescue, Masrya was still an older lion with some health issues. Unfortunately, those caught up to her, and in early 2021, she passed away. Nero took the news hard. While Nero was shaken by the loss of his friend, he had since struck up a relationship with another female lion, Nora. Together, the pairs formed their own family, all without a cage in sight. They were better off, though some might argue otherwise. Please share this story with your friends and family.